Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 14 of Pumpin Iron, the review series of course for the classic muscle machines of GT6. And in this episode we're featuring what is an iconic muscle car in real life. It's been featured in a number of movies. On the game though, in the dealership, it can initially appear to be a bit of an underdog. It's alongside the Chevy El Camino, the cheapest muscle car in the game. They both cost just 30,000 credits. Now that could be a good thing, but it could also be a bad thing. Why is it so cheap? The second thing that makes you think that the car may not be such a great deal is it doesn't exactly have an inspiring amount of power in its stock form, and it's also pretty heavy. For those of you who did or do choose to buy this car, you may have been, as I was, pleasantly surprised when you first bought this car way back when Gran Turismo 6 first came out, or at least when you first started playing it, because this car actually turns out to be one of the best all-round muscle cars in the game. For a start, it's a premium, and hardly any of the decent muscle cars that are on the game are premium cars. It seems strange to me that they still haven't made even half of the muscle cars in the game premium models. Even iconic ones like the Superbird, the Charger, the Cuda. I mean, there is a premium Cuda, but not the 446 pack, which is arguably the more important one. And there are still so many that aren't premium. This model is, though. And when you fully tune it, it is a monster. Now, this car's powered by a 6.6 litre supercharged, when fully tuned, V8. That's 400 cubic inches. As I said, it's pretty heavy. Even with the full weight loss package, it's far from being a featherweight at 1,313 kilos. So that puts it at around a similar kind of weight to, say, a Charger. So not too bad, but not particularly good either. It produces 781 brake horsepower. Again, not quite the best, but more than enough to get the job done. And what is impressive about that massive engine is the torque, which again, funnily enough, is actually very similar to the torque output of the Charger 440 at 955 pound-feet, making it have, or endowing it with, one of the highest torque outputs of any street car in the game. So it's starting to look like a bit of a better deal for 30 grand. On top of that, if you add the fact that this actually has one of the best top speeds of any muscle car in the game at around 260 miles per hour without NOS or draft, that starts to sound like a pretty amazing deal at only 30,000 credits. And it is an amazing deal. The acceleration is also very good, and surprisingly to me anyway, the most shocking thing about the car is actually how good the handling is. Now, it is a premium model, which means that in effect they put more thought into this car, and that really does show. It handles far better than any muscle car really has any right to, or so people would think. Now, around the track, this car can give cars which are much newer and what people would assume to be more advanced a great run for their money. It's a brilliant racing machine. The top speed means it's competitive well beyond its class, not just in the muscle car class, but that means you can take on super saloons, you can take on sports cars, you can even take on some racing cars with that kind of top speed and beat them. Acceleration wise, it makes a great drag machine. As we said, doesn't quite have the power of, say, a Chevelle or a Cuda, but it's still no slouch, that's for sure. Especially when you compare the price. Again, 30 grand. That's like half or a third of the price of some of the more mainstream, obvious choices of muscle car. Now, to be clear, I'm not really a huge fan of the Pontiac Trans Am in real life. I don't dislike the car, I just don't really feel either way about it. It's okay. I prefer the Charger or the Cuda. But on the game, you've got to admit, this is a fantastic value for money car, and I actually featured it in my top value for money car list on Gran Turismo 6 for that very reason. It's got literally everything you would want from a muscle car. It's premium, it's cheap, it's powerful, it's got huge torque, It's light enough to be decent around corners. It's got good brakes, good drivability, surprising levels of grip, great acceleration, and a shockingly good top speed. What more do you need? So, if you put personal preference aside and you're looking purely for a muscle car that will dominate muscle car races, it'd be hard to find one better all round than the Trans Am Firebird. On top of that, it's also got some pretty cool body modifications and rear wings that many other muscle cars can't have. So, a pretty amazing deal all round, and if you, by some miracle, haven't tried this car by now, I would definitely recommend you give it a try, because it's a seriously competitive and fantastic all-round machine. So, that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.